Welcome to the program agenda. It's good to have you back, and let's get on with the day. It's Thursday, August 11th, 2022, and today we will be addressing two topics. The principal topic we will be discussing with our first guest involves something nobody wants to talk about or people just dismiss. But I have been gathering so much information, a lot of stories about the problem, and it has to do not with the general classification of mental health, but with the specific problem of people burning out, mentally burning out, physically burning out, and eventually diving into depression. We will be interviewing a psychiatrist who specializes on the matter, and we will discuss this at length. And then after that, we will address another concern for those who are in jail, because DILG Secretary Benhur Abalos recently made a speech in front of the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology officials and said that he wanted the jails clean. Now, the question is, did he want the jails clean of drugs, clean of corruption, or was he referring to physically clean? How that can be achieved given the congestion, the simple fact of excessive congestion in our jails in the country. Some people are saying, wish ko lang. Okay, so we will go and address that. But let's start with the day, and it's a very timely reminder. Our daily starter comes from Isaiah chapter 40, verse 29. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Napakagandang timing po niyan, because some of you are probably feeling weary, feeling tired, burned out, etc. Pero para kayong diesel, takbo lang kayo ng takbo, and isang araw magkakatrangkaso, isang araw masakit ang tiyan, etc. And before you know it, you are having complications already. So please remember, that is an anchor of life, the Bible, the Word of God. The Lord gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Let's now go to the front page of the Philippine Star for a review of the news and some commentaries. Let's begin with today's headline: price caps readied on school supplies. Okay, year after year, every time the school opens, and now for the first time after 2 years, we are going to have a national face-to-face return to school. The Department of Trade and Industry will soon be releasing its guidelines for suggested retail prices. Okay, and yan, kabisado na yan ng DTI all over the Philippines. Oh, by the way, greetings to DTI offices in Bicol and in the Visayas, yung mga napuntahan na natin dyan for seminars, etc. Now, aside from the price cap readied on school supplies, the top of the front page, we have BBM nixes importation of 300,000 metric tons of sugar. President Bongbong Marcos essentially said no to the importation of 300,000 metric tons of sugar right after one of his undersecretaries and the boss at the Sugar Regulatory Administration announced that they would be importing the said amount of sugar. And this led to some confusion, but it seems that de cajon, so to speak, okay? There is an expected or perceived coming shortage. So officials said, well, the solution is import. They forgot to ask their boss because their boss is very sensitive. none other than President Bongbong Marcos, is very sensitive to the issue of agricultural importation or importation of agricultural products. And what happened was some people advised the president, there is a forthcoming harvest, there are already farms harvesting, etc. So in the end, BBM said, no way, Jose. So there will be no importation at least this week. Wala pa naman. Pero I am sure some people will be pushing to get a green light even on a compromise amount. However, the president should really look into that because from farming, even the sugar industry has relied mostly, and many of these people who hold those cards, those importation permits, are no longer planting, they are just importing. Hindi na kayo farmers, traders na kayo. Okay, let's now go to that big photo at the top of the front page of the Philippine Star. That's students at Marikina at the Concepcion Elementary School in Marikina, sorting used modules for teaching in preparation for the face-to-face classes. Okay, medyo napapansin lang natin dyan talagang they are recycling. Okay, okay lang yan, recycle basta malinis pa. Meanwhile, monkeypox vaccine supply expected by 2023, next year, okay? The DOH, the government, and particularly OIC of the DOH is confident that the vaccines for monkeypox will be in by 2023. Okay, the photo at the middle of the front page, we have Department of Health, OIC Maria Rosario Vergere, and Manila Medical Center, Manila Director Eduardo Eseke, launching the Pinalakas program of the Manila Med Hospital for the COVID booster shots. Okay. Meanwhile, the DOH said COVID situation manageable. Okay, a word of warning to all of you out there. COVID is out there. It is creeping, it is crawling, and it is slightly growing. Pero wag po kayong baliwala. A lot of people seem to be taking this for granted. So we have to be careful. Please get your first or second booster shot if you are qualified. Okay. Meanwhile, motorists' rights pushed amid no-contact apprehension. Mabuti pa si Congressman Joey Salceda nag-iisip at gumagalaw. Okay? Congressman Joey Salceda from Bicol. Tiga Bicol pa yung gumalaw. Okay, Chairman of the Ways and Means Committee of Congress is going to push and file a bill for motorists' rights, particularly for those in the transport industry, because as he correctly observed, okay, the LGUs rely so much on the local government code to be able to enforce rules, laws, etc., but there is no protection for motorists. In the recent conflict or controversy of LGU between motorists, it was discovered that you can appeal the arrest for no contact arrest policies, but it amounts to nothing. Kumbaga, magdadakdak ka, sige, pinagbigyan ka na namin, now pay the fine. And there was no consultation on the increases on the fines for this NCAP or NCAP. And also the MMDA kumakampi sa LGU. Of course, they will take the side of the LGU because they are under the LGU. The days of the MMDA independently speaking out and expressing their professional opinion and expertise seems to have disappeared in the current administration because now they are just passing the buck. So Congressman Joey Salceda said, well, it's time to pass a motorist rights bill to protect us from the cotton cops, to protect us from all of the corrupt local government, traffic officers, etc., etc. Meanwhile, Congressman Ace Barbers is calling for an investigation on the matter regarding the NCAP policies because, mind you, the no-contact apprehension policy was okay when it was being done by the MMDA and not being modified, interfered with by local government units. Hindi ko nasasabihin kung sino, but cities that went into partnership with a private company to put up the cameras and then slap the motorist with 2,000 peso fines per offense. Magkano po ba ang minimum salary? The minimum salary, pataasin na natin, 550. That is almost 4 times, just a little under 4 times or 4 days of work for a driver. Tapos babanatan pa ninyo ng 2,000 or that is more than 2 days of boundary for taxi drivers. So yun po, no? Joey Salceda and Ace Barbers, congratulations to you. You have your finger on the button. Okay. Meanwhile, the Senate is on 3-week lockdown after 3 senators got COVID. Yan po, kasi naman po, talagang a friend of ours got COVID from her son or daughter who went out on a date and came home with COVID. So this is a warning. Senators get the COVID, senior citizens get COVID infection, you can get COVID. So ayan po, the Senate will now be working remotely because 3 na ang tinamaan sa mga senador natin. Meanwhile, Manila Electric Company linemen examine, okay, ito is a bank of electric meter posts along Quezon City. Yan po yung usually doon sa mga ika nga nila depressed areas and they put the electric meters above ground para hindi mapakialaman. So it will not be tampered. But Meralco said, its electricity rates remain down for the second consecutive month due to lower generation and distribution charges. Ayan, good news po yan. Last but not the least, President Bongbong Marcos names entertainer as OWA chief. Okay. PBBM has appointed Arnel Ignacio as administrator of the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration or OWA. Okay, this was announced yesterday or the other day, and so there you go. Those are the front page news for the Philippine Star today. It's August 11, 2022, Thursday. Okay, now going to our topic for the interview. Many people don't want to talk about it. I will. I am not ashamed. I have been on a leave. Some of you may have noticed I didn't do the show. And for several days, we went on what people call vacation. However, what people saw as a vacation in Boracay, thank you very much to our viewers on Boracay Island. Ami, yung nagbenta sa akin ng pandikoko. Maraming salamat sa iyo for Stephen Sacapanyo, Colonel Jonathan Pablito. Thank you for your hospitality on the island. But anyway, while we were on Boracay, most people thought I was on vacation. I couldn't really tell them that, guys, I'm here for rest and recovery. Nagpo-post lang ako, picture-picture, pero nakahiga lang ako most of the time. Why? Because I have burned out. Or at least that's what I was saying to myself. I burned out. Okay? Turns out that it was the correct term because based on a research by our assistant, ano na ba si Roy? EP, assistant EP research, marami siya. Okay, si Roy Abraham. Okay, he did, he's an associate producer, okay, Roy Abraham, came out with a guide for me regarding burnout. And I want all of you to please listen to this because everybody thinks, oh, finally, COVID-19 lockdowns are finished. We can move on. You don't come out of 18 months of denied liberties. Okay, that's what I'm calling. Para kang person denied of liberty for 18 months because of COVID and think you're still normal. And then with all the duress, the stress, etc., people try to continue functioning. And even our PT, my functional therapist, sabi sa akin, Sir, ayusin mo muna lahat yung mga laman-laman mo bago ka mag-workout ng mga sa gym kasi baka madisgrasya ka. Okay, so burnout is a state of emotional, physical, mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. Okay, prolonged stress. It occurs when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, unable to meet constant demands. Nangapa po tayo for so many months under COVID. Future was uncertain. Many of us lost jobs. Many of us lost family. We lost more family and friends in the last 18 months than I have in the last 66 years of my life. That's the reality, okay? So let's talk about all of this with our next guest, and here's her intro video.
Dr. Joan Rifareal is a psychiatrist and a fellow of the Philippine Psychiatric Association. Aside from having her residency training in general and adult psychiatry at UPPGH, Rifareal obtained her fellowship training in consultation liaison psychiatry from Tan Tock Seng Hospital in Singapore. She is also a faculty member in Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health.
Good morning, Dr. Joan. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sir Cito, and nice to see you again. Kamusta po? And I was surprised by the introduction. Maraming salamat po for that kind introduction. And good morning po.
Well, you deserve it. You've earned it. You've worked for it, and I hope you can take us through this process because, as I publicly confessed, I just underwent a very difficult period. Nag-umpisa ito yung mga backache, muscle ache, pagkatapos I experienced fatigue, low energy, and then next thing I know, I got very disinterested with the things I was doing, etc. And then I had vision problems, and the last but not the least was I was attending a meeting with some very big businessmen, and they had to call in a nurse and said, there's something wrong with Cito. So anyway, so that's why my wife and daughter kicked me out of Metro Manila. No show, no typewriter, no computer, nothing. Now, what is the difference between burnout and depression?
Yes.
Which comes first?
All right. Thank you for that question. And I hope you're now better. You're feeling better na today, Sir Cito. And first and foremost, burnout is a real condition. In fact, it's defined by the World Health Organization as a real condition due to or brought about by chronic or persistent or patuloy na stress, now, which is usually related to jobs. So it's chronic or a persistent job-related stress. And because of this, yung mga stressors from work, like being too much, there's an overload of workload, unable to get enough rest and take your breaks or leaves from work, then it may lead to this feeling of exhaustion. Kaya siya burnout. No? So, kaya siya parang there's that feeling of pagiging low bat. Parang nauubos ang ating energy. The candle becomes smaller and smaller. So, it's a real condition, in fact, from prolonged stress. So, what really starts is stress. a bit of stress is good. It will push us to do our best sa trabaho, to wake up in the morning, to go to work. But too much of stress may lead to burnout already. And if it's not addressed kaagad, if it's not monitored well, and this may proceed na ngayon to other risks, like for example, anxiety symptoms, depression, distress, etc. So that's how it is in terms of progression of the signs and symptoms from chronic or prolonged stress. Again, it's a real condition, Sir Cito, kasi nakakalungkot sometimes when we, halimbawa, when we take breaks, no, for example, because of exhaustion, because of low energy from too much stress from trabahos, may mga, sometimes we hear mga sinasabi no, na excuse lang yan because tamad, no, or ayaw pumasok. But of course, it's not, it's never, no? That's not true. And I would like to validate everyone's emotions and feelings. Now, when we feel exhausted, this is true. This is a real phenomenon, and it's recognized by the World Health Organization.
Okay, let's take it to your clinic, as they say. No, at the clinic, what are you seeing that is a consequence of this prolonged denial of liberties? I'm stressing this because I've been in several meetings, lunches, etc., and I always hear this story. Pare, si ganito gano, mayaman, milyonaryo, he's packing his bags. I said, what do you mean he's packing his bags? He's leaving the country. I said, why? He's fed up with the politics? No, he's burned out. And everyone is saying, oh no, I am leaving everything to my kids. I'm moving somewhere, or people are just quitting. And so America, they have the great resignation. And when I try to study the problem, it seems that everyone missed the fact that we all went under detention. And I remember a friend who was detained, literally illegally detained many years ago. Na-detain lang siya ng 6 days yata o 2 weeks ba yun? I can't remember. It's been many years. The very first thing he did when he got out of jail was he walked and he walked and he walked until he could no longer walk. And I said, what the hell is wrong with you? And he said, I just want to establish the fact that I'm free, that no one is watching me, no one is going to grab me. He was so mentally affected. Now, at your clinic, what are you seeing, or in your hospital, what are you seeing related to the COVID, related to adjusting work conditions, stress because of COVID lockdown?
Yes, yes, Sir Cito. In fact, there have been several studies done on looking at the psychological impact of this COVID-19 pandemic, as well as itong what we call now as the new normal. No? Kasi we are transitioning slowly, we're going back to the outside world now. And studies, in fact, have been consistent, Sir Cito, na during this time of pandemic, talagang we are all affected. All, regardless of age, gender, profession, status in life, lahat tayo. We are all affected because, again, of what you mentioned earlier, the uncertainty. Now, there's this uncertainty. We are now in the 3rd year of this pandemic, and still everything is up in the air. We don't even know when this pandemic will end and how, and all of this uncertainty can add to that feeling of stress, anxiety, and burnout. From the study, Sir Cito, no, especially the one done by UPPGH, and it was published already. It showed that the symptoms can range from moderate to severe. So that's very alarming. Moderate to severe symptoms of anxiety, burnout, distress, and depression, specifically for females, for the age group of 12 to 21. So these will be the young adults, the adolescents who have missed school, having missed that face-to-face classes for maybe 2 years, for the past 2 years. Those who are in isolation or who may have been in quarantine or isolation due to infection. So we can see na talagang it's an interplay of a lot of these factors. And we know that when we are isolated, when we live alone because of the lockdown or quarantine protocols, talaga it can also make us feel lonely. And it can add to the symptoms of depression and anxiety as well. So talagang it's a multitude of factors, Sir Cito, and it's an interplay always. And how it manifests, now going back to that question.
Yeah, please.
It can manifest cognitively, meaning brain functions can be affected. And we should be aware of this, especially for us who are working, diba, in a lalo na mga frontliners, healthcare workers, lahat in the media, for example.
Who gets it more, Doc Joan? Is it the person who is a physical worker or is it a person who does a lot of mental work? Because like half of the market right now are all laptop warriors, or people who like me are doing it online, or are just working with our keyboards. Now the other half are people who are still physically doing physical work. Who gets hit worst?
It's the same. Again, Sir Cito, if you remember kanina, I mentioned na all of us are affected in different ways. Kasi, for example, yung mga nasa ano naman, no, those who are physically required to report sa kanilang workplaces, they are exposed to different forms of stressors like transpo difficulties. We know na ngayon talagang pahirapan, no? Kulang sa transpo. There is also that panic, that fear. We call it as a re-entry panic syndrome. There's that fear of catching the virus every time they leave their homes. Kasi of course, it's still the pandemic, so the virus is still there. Yung iba naman who are at home, then they can also have different sources of stress, no? Like what was mentioned earlier, yung that feeling of being isolated, that loneliness, yung feeling of being in a cabin, we call that cabin fever. Yung bang, Sir Cito, that feeling na parang you're alone and you have no one to socialize with, which is really very important kasi we are social beings and we need that socialization for us to be able to cope.
What are the signs? I mean, I've been reading about it, and I'm asking Gab, our executive producer, to flash the notes, okay, or the fact sheets regarding the signs. But yung mga pumupunta sa clinic mo, what do they tell you, or what are the manifestations?
Yes. So it can manifest cognitively, meaning brain function can be affected. For example, hirap sila to focus, hirap to concentrate. There is that brain fogginess. They feel confused. They cannot sustain their attention. Attention span is very limited. And another is physical symptoms. So burnout may manifest as having aches and pains na palipat-lipat, which can be unexplainable by a specific medical problem. So, para pag minsan, Sir, dito nagugulat sila, why am I having this headache today? Tomorrow, it's stomach pain. The next day, it's knee pain, back pain, mga ganon. Unexplainable aches and pains. Problems with sleeping, so sleep difficulties, eating concerns also change.
Yeah, I guess the best thing to do would be, like in my experience, it was lack of sleep. It starts with lack of sleep. You're not mentally rested. And then the next thing was I started having body aches. And then I started having negative thoughts. And then I started losing interest in exercise, started losing interest in my home projects, etc. And then some people I spoke with said, para yung iba nga, umiinom na lang para lang they think they're socializing, but they're actually just doing it for the drinking.
Yes, opo. Agree, Sir Cito, kasi it can also manifest, aside from the cognitive symptoms, physical symptoms, behavioral symptoms also can be observed. Changes in behavior. Like, for example, no, they engage more in mga unhealthy coping strategies like drinking, smoking more than usual, or yung iba po, no, they engage in mga prohibited behavior. So another naman po na manifestation is emotional. Mas mabilis silang ma-irritable, especially the family members would be the first one to notice this. Mabilis, parang sobrang bilis, no, na konting ano lang, na disagreement or argument, misunderstanding, sobra, no, it's out of proportion. The emotions can be out of proportion to what's happened, to the experience. So yun po yun. So it can manifest in all of these dimensions or aspects of life. And
so abnormal behavior, loss of interest. What about someone mentioned to me, Cito also mentioned yung mga iba na who think they're being physically fit or sports-minded, na it can also fall under risky behavior in the sense na they're pushing themselves. Parang as far as they're concerned, hey, I'm staying fit. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go on my bike. I'm going to go for a run. And then I said, and when are you planning to take a rest?
Yes, opo. Let's always remember, Sir Cito, na everything should be in moderation kasi we do not want naman then to overexert ourselves. We know that there can be risks as well from overexertion, from over-fatigue, diba? From exercises or any forms of yung mga extremes na po, no, na behaviors or like ang sa ano po, no, for some of those under my care, part of their coping is unhealthy na po. For example, they engage in mga risky behaviors like drunk driving, for example, or yung mga ganon na which they feel is parang yung ano kasi, no, for some substances, it gives them that ano lang, temporary feeling of pleasure, of joy, but we know that in the long term, it has negative impact on our body in general. So, ang always, Sir Cito, kasi when we say burnout, it has three major elements. Exhaustion, number one. Bagsak ang energy. Number two, there is that negative emotions or feelings already towards our job or towards our academics, for example, for students. Meron ng cynicism, there is a frustration, lack of motivation. Number three, because of these negative emotions and lack of energy, lack of interest, bumabagsak na ang performance. So that is the major concern there. When we feel and notice that our performance has declined already or has been affected.
Dr. Joan, let's go for a quick break. When we return, please walk us through that performance factor. Kasi I know people, when I watch them, okay pa yan. Tuloy-tuloy, he's still producing, he's reporting, he's submitting, and then suddenly they just pass out or they just walk out. And let's go through that, but let's go for a quick break here on Agenda. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the program Agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, thanking you for being viewers of One News PH and especially as subscribers of Cignal TV. Okay, maraming salamat po. I discovered na pati yung bangka sa Boracay merong sale na nakasulat Cignal TV. Okay, well, I will flash that one of these days. But anyway, Doc Joan, you left off on that 3 points talking about burnout. The most interesting for many is performance. Whether you are a mother or a housewife, or you are a CEO or a media executive, what are the things that you need to watch out? And allow me to emphasize this, ladies and gentlemen, we need to watch ourselves the most kasi yung iba will not tell us or will hesitate to tell us. So we need to watch out for the signs that Doc Joan was talking about. So anyway, Doc Joan, performance.
Yes, Sir Cito, tama yun. Self-awareness, in fact, is the key. Kasi tayo naman, we would know ourselves the best. Na? So, number one po, if we feel na there are sudden shifts, or it can be parang gradual also, na para bang shifts in the way we function sa trabaho natin, in our roles in life, as a mom, as a parent, as a member of the workforce, shifts in how we are able to deliver and come up, make sure that deliver the tasks or roles that we are supposed to do. So at the end of the day, let's review, no? Let's monitor, review kung kamusta ba? How is the quality of my work? And do I feel na parang I'm missing out on some very important deadlines? No, was I able to meet deadlines? Or for students, napapansin ba nila na siguro tardiness has been more frequent, absences from classes have been more frequent recently. Kamusta ang kanilang grades, for example? Kasi sometimes it's the grading system, we can see that, no? Na parang there is that dip in the performance levels of students.
Kumbaga, bumabagal ka,
Yes.
it takes you longer to do certain tasks.
Yes.
You're no longer interested, or you're complaining about having to do something,
Yes.
or the quality of your work is compromised. Like some people, I for myself, I was having great difficulty writing, which was, I think 3 times harder to write at the peak of that burnout. And then some people naman parang hindi na sila makakota, they can't meet their targets, etc. Those are usually, when it's consistent, it's a sign of burnout.
Yes. And not just for burnout, Sir Cito, we can also observe itong decline in one's functionality when we have symptoms of anxiety or depression. So lagi yan, across all mental health concerns, that is in fact one of the red flags for us to always monitor for, yung that impairment in our functionality, when there is that distress already in terms of the ability for us to perform, function, and contribute to our community, be it in school, in the workplace, in our respective roles in the household. So when there is that decline, so yun po, dapat we should monitor and be alert for those.
Okay, what are people supposed to do? Because like I went on a 5-day vacation or 7 days vacation, just natulog lang ako.
Yeah.
And then I arrived just this morning. I had a complete blood test. I'm scheduled for visit to the ophthalmologist. I'm scheduled for visit to the cardio, etc. Kumbaga second stage ko after the rest is the investigation, the medical investigation. But for ordinary people, who are medyo konti ang oras, may limitations, what can they do if they realize I'm burned out, but I don't have too many options? What is your professional suggestion?
The first suggestion and recommendation, Sir Cito, for this is really to love yourselves. It should really start with us, to love ourselves. Let's always be kind and compassionate towards ourselves. Sometimes kasi, Sir Cito, we are the worst critics of ourselves, no? And always remember that we never give what we do not have. If we are feeling that low bat, empty, we are running on empty cups, then talaga it's difficult for us to share, to take care of the people who need our help. So take good care of yourself.
That is so deep, Doc Joan. So it's been said before, but it's a good reminder. You cannot give what you do not have. You cannot perform if you don't have the motivation, the energy, or the fitness to do it, and the same thing at home.
Yes, definitely, Sir Cito. That's why that is the most basic and most important reminder for everyone. And acknowledge your emotions. If you feel that you need to take a break, to take a rest, acknowledge your emotions. And please remember that it's never a sign of a weakness of our character if we admit to ourselves that, yeah, we need help. We need to take a break, to pause for a while so that we can come back stronger. Our cups can be refilled to the brim. Di ba yung sabi Sir Cito na dapat ang mga kape natin, mga cups natin ay siksik, liglig, umaapaw. Let's always remember that, because when people ask from us, when they want something from us and we are running low on fuel, then we can only feel irritable.
But how do you love yourself? I mean, bakasyon lang or what?
Okay, first, number one, Sir Cito, physical. Because again, physical, emotional, psychological, and social well-being are intertwined. So
Yeah,
physically,
we have 5 minutes left, so let's
yes.
go for it.
Yes, physically, get enough rest and sleep. We know that sleep deprivation can really have tremendous impact on almost all of the organ systems in our body. Yung sinabi niyo kanina, Sir Cito, na biglang nagpa-pass out, maybe that can be due to sleep deprivation or poor nutrition. So that's physical, get enough rest and sleep, take naps. Emotionally, please make sure to do or engage in healthy coping strategies. Do the things which make you feel good and happy, like gardening, going on breaks, vacation, alone time, which is really very important. Socially naman po, please make sure to connect with the people whom you trust. Surround yourself with positive, like-minded people who exude that positive disposition to push you, to help you during these
I spoke with several senior citizen CEOs, mga big time to big corporation bosses, and when I listened to their stories, they all had a common thread. They got scared of getting sick. They confined themselves at home. And slowly but surely, they started losing weight kasi the quality of food na nasanay sila eating outside, the exercise, wala na. And suddenly, it became mental and they started just not talking to anybody until someone called them na makulit and told them, pare, magbihis ka nga at lumabas ka. Kung mamamatay ka, mamatay kang busog at masaya. Huwag kang mamatay na takot at payat. But man, the common story was they went through the parang namuhay kuweba and they suffered for it.
Yeah. So that's why we really emphasize that social connectedness is really very important for us to feel that we are not going through this situation or challenging times alone, and that we are all going through this as one community. And lastly, Sir Cito, a very integral component of overall health and well-being is, of course, spirituality. Let's always find meaning. What is the meaning? What is the purpose of everything that's happening now? Because finding that spirituality, reconnecting, and we can read uplifting messages, listen to uplifting songs, can give us that anchor that we need.
But you know, Doc Joan, yeah, it's good, because I know a lot of very spiritual, very God-fearing, God-loving people. The problem is some of us, like me, kinakausap ka na ni Lord, sinasabihan ka na ni Lord na, oy, magpahinga ka, take a break, the signs, all the signs. You said, acknowledge that there is a problem. I saw all the signs. Kinakanta ko ngayon, I saw the sign. Pero I ignored the sign. Kumbaga, okay yan, kaya pa. The signs were there, but it was too late when I acknowledged it because it was already becoming a threat. And then you said spirituality, social connection, and loving yourself. Okay, correct. So that's really a lot of things to take. But any last words, Dr. Rifareal?
Yes, let's always remember that in any situation, in any public health emergency, especially pandemics like this, what keeps us going? What keeps me personally going, Sir Cito? And this is my affirmation for myself. This too shall pass. Wala naman pong problem. There's no problem too difficult na forever. No? So this too shall pass. And let's always remember that with any challenge, there is always an opportunity for us to learn from those challenges and to grow, to help us in our growth, both personally and professionally, especially with the support of our very strong support, solid support system.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Joan Rifareal. Thank you for your time today. God bless you.
God bless you, Sir Cito. Maraming salamat po.
Okay, that's Dr. Joan Rifareal, fellow Philippine Psychiatric Association. And please, just so that we are clear, I'm sharing this experience and we are talking about this subject matter because it is better to acknowledge that you have a problem because then you have a problem to solve, okay? And solve the problem. Take a break, seek professional advice. Huwag po tayong matakot sa doktor, magkonsulta because half of the time, our own family members won't tell you, would be afraid, would be worried to tell you, teka, mukhang may topa ka na. Okay? And at least me, I have family that have authority to tell me you need a break, you need to get out because you're burned out. Okay, so we'll go for a break, and when we return, let's go to a more serious, well, not more serious, kasi, to a current affairs concern. The BJMP, can they actually clean up, and what are they supposed to clean up here on Agenda? Welcome back to the program Agenda. Our second topic concerns the statement or pronouncement of DILG Secretary Benhur Abalos addressed to the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology to clean up the jails. The question is, was the good secretary referring to drug and criminality or to physical cleansing, maintenance of our jails? Let's speak with Jail Superintendent bigyan natin ng konting twist. Xavier Solda. Ang gaganda ng kanyang pangalan, but let's watch the video and get to know him.
Xavier Solda currently serves as a spokesperson and concurrent Chief of Staff of the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology. Working for the BJMP since 2008, Solda is also the Chief of the Community Relations Service Office.
Okay, Xavier, good morning, and thank you for your time. Bilisan na lang tayo. And what exactly did the DILG Secretary mean when he said clean the jails?
Well, sir, ang ibig pong sabihin ng ating butihing secretary in saying to continuously cleaning the jails, because he was made aware that there are already programs on the BJMP, how we do our anti-drug campaigns, and how we do our programs, the different services for the persons deprived of liberty. That's why he did mention na tuloy-tuloy natin, intensify natin yung paglilinis ng ating mga jail facilities, because that's actually the job of the BJMP. And the department is very much concerned about it.
Okay, sabi, yung our jails, okay, are they funded primarily by the national government, or are many of our jails dependent on the local government? Because in that situation, if the LGU has a financial stake or a cost, medyo some will give, some won't give. What's the situation?
Sir, as a national agency, we are heavily dependent to the national government pagdating po sa funding or budget. But some of the programs and activities and some of the infrastructure programs that are being made in the jail facilities are funded by the local government. Sir Cito, hindi po natin dapat makalimutan din, no? And also to the viewers, na yung mga nakakulong ho sa mga district, city, and municipal jails na under ng BJMP ay ongoing pa lang ang trial, hindi pa napatunayan nagkasala. And these are the constituencies ng mga LGUs natin, kaya talagang tumutulong din sila sa BJMP. And we keep on saying na ang problema naman talaga ng BJMP hindi lamang problema ng aming ahensya, it is also the concern of the LGUs because once na lumabas ito pabalik ng mga communities, this will be the same concern, no, na kakaharapin ng mga communities natin, ng mga LGUs, kaya inire-ready namin sila.
Okay, having said that, wouldn't it be smarter to just make them pay a very big bail so that total their cases are ongoing, they have not been sentenced, they are not state penitentiary, etc. Because I think your biggest headache is over congestion, correct?
That's correct, Sir Cito.
So wouldn't it be just better for the DOJ to find a way na okay, sige, cargo ka ng barangay captain or cargo ka ni mayor, and on top of that you have to have a big bail, or yung bang mga naka-detain na ganyan, are they largely without bail cases?
Well, unang-una, Sir Cito, we have different modes of releases. One of the two that you've mentioned is yung release through recognizance. Ibig sabihin, pwede kang lumaya with the support and help or supervision of a competent person, meaning yung pwedeng yung local official, yung barangay captain, and that is for petty offense, yung mga maliliit lamang na mga offense. And then, yes, tama po kayo, Sir Cito, pwede naman pong mag-bail. Pero ang nakakalungkot dito, minsan yung iba, 5,000, 10,000, hindi ho kaya ng mga kababayan nating nakakulong sa BJMP kahit ito mga petty crimes lang. Kasi nga ho, ito ho yung mga pinakamahihirap nating mga kababayan. And kung magkaroon ho ito ng 100 sa bulsa, ibibili na lang ho ng bigas. And they're always thinking na napakahirap po talaga ng sitwasyon pero wala naman din ho silang magagawa. The law is clear as to who can be granted bail, and the law also sets, no, yung mga court po natin sets how much, no, this person should pay for their bail.
So okay, I know, I understand that, sabi, no, talagang you guys are implementers of the law now, but that I think that's a revelation to many because marami sa atin, we think na yung mga hindi makalabas, nakakulong kasi mga murder, rape, etc., non-bailable. But if you're saying that many of them are petty crimes, small bail, but no money to pay bail.
Yes, that's correct, Sir Cito. Lalo na po, no, our data shows that almost all of the PDL under the BJMP, ito po talaga yung mga pinakamahirap natin mga kababayan. Some of them really are victims of circumstances. That's why they don't have any options but to commit, no?
Wala bang, is there no, sorry to cut in, sabi, no, but wala bang grupo, is there no body who can filter, assess, ito, dala ng kahirapan, this is a crime of necessity, meaning he stole one piling of banana or stole a sack of rice because he has to feed his family. Is there no system where we can filter them and then refer them to, let's say, social welfare, DSWD?
Well, the circumstances is always dependent dun sa batas natin. Sabi, lagi nga sinasabi, Sir Cito, court of law. So, ang appreciation po ng mga circumstances na yun ay nasa korte na. And I think our courts are just doing their job too. No? Like the BJMP, kami po parang detention facility lang talaga, no? Papasok sila sa amin pag inutusan kami ng korte, and pag inutusan uli kami ng korte na ilalabas po natin sila.
But yet, if something happens to them inside, you're the ones who are blamed if there is a criminality. Our desk is asking, do you have any studies about criminality inside our jails? Kasi sabi mo nga, sama-sama na silang lahat dyan.
Well, our research, sir, sa mga programa po ng BJMP, lumalabas po na maging malaki talaga yung impact that we are giving the right programs, no, for the PDL. But magkakaiba po kasi ito depende ho sa kaso nila. Halimbawa po, for drug-related ang kaso, we are giving so much programs that is related to employable skills training programs, more physical activities, and then yung iba naman po na crimes against person, halimbawa may mga nag-violate po ng kababaihan, no, ng family nila, may mga ganong concerns. Iba naman pong approach ang binibigay ng BJMP. Pagpasok po kasi ng mga PDL natin, no, titingnan natin based on their records, ano yung estado nila, ano yung tinapos nila, ano yung mga intervention kailangan nila. Kasi
Pero Xavier, what about inside the jail? Is there still incidents of crimes? Have you studied what type of crimes are being committed inside BJMP jails? Kasi parang yun din yung naisip ng ibang tao na sinasabi ni Secretary Abalos. Baka was he referring to that? The drugs and crimes inside the jail?
So far, Sir Cito, no, from the reports that we are receiving, of course, it is also a concern to us kung paano na ipapasok yung mga kontrabando sa loob ng mga jail facilities po natin, no. Marami kaming tinitingnan na factors. Number one, yung structure, no. Marami kasi, halimbawa po, hindi na tayo lalayo dito sa Manila City Jail. Mas mataas ho yung mga buildings, bahay, informal settlers nakapalibot sa facility, pwedeng nakakapagbato po sila ng mga...
Wala bang planong ilipat yung Manila City Jail na yan? Kasi, hindi ka pa pinapanganak, problema na yan eh. I think I can speak with authority because I'm so much older than you, Xavier. I know that facility and you are right. Babato lang ako dun sa bubong ng isang facility, makakapagbato na ng shabu, damo, or toma.
That's correct po. So far po, wala pa pong plano, but there are already an ongoing talks on how it should be moved, no, in the future. But at present po, we have to face, no, yung pressing challenges dyan, which is yung mga informal settlers, and second, how we could expand, no, yung intelligence gathering natin, sino ba yung mga possibly involved dyan, ano yung mga pwedeng interventions na gawin ng BJMP.
Yung location and construction of jails, who makes that decision for the BJMP? Kasi so many of your jails are just, I'm sorry, they're hell holes. Kumbaga, inabutan nyo na generation after generation of BJMP officials. You can have the best BJMP officials, but as you pointed out early in the program, if the structure themselves is a problem, the location and structure, who decides on that?
Well, Sir Cito, at present, no, we have facility development programs. It is the BJMP who decides. That's number one. But before 1991, which is the creation of the BJMP, minana na po talaga namin, Sir Cito, tama po kayo, yung maraming mga facilities from the LGUs, from the defunct PCINP. But at present, we already made a lot of progress. In fact, if titingnan natin for the last 5 years, we were able to pull down the congestion rate from 612% in 2017 to 387% at the present nationwide congestion rate. And that's because of the new facilities we've constructed, supported, of course, by the national government. In fact, in the last administration, we received around 6.7 billion pesos. And it's unprecedented, no? Because nag-peak talaga yung congestion po natin sa mga facilities natin. And this is the continuing call of the for the LGUs to donate plots na para maprograma po natin yung pagko-construct ng mga facilities po.
Okay, well, Xavier, let's make this a regular thing para ma-update mo ang ating viewers and let's bring it out to the public kasi matagal ko nang sinusuportahan yan. I have been writing about it in the Philippine Star that we need new, bigger, better facilities or we need to change our justice system na yung mga ganyan, anak ng ewa naman, 5,000 lang na piyansa, hindi pa matulungan. There are so many people who eat 5,000 pesos in one dinner and it is so disturbing to be a Filipino and to know that. Anyway, Xavier, congratulations for everything that your team is doing, the BJMP is doing, and sana masuportahan kayo ni Secretary Benhur Abalos regarding this concern. Have a good day. God bless you.
Thank you very much din po, Sir Cito. And one point na lang, actually, sir, nagpapasalamat din po kami kay Secretary Abalos. No? From the local perspective, dinala niya sa department and we really appreciate his efforts in going down to the line bureaus ng department. So that's all, Sir Cito. Magandang hapon po at maraming suporta.
Thank you, Xavier Solda. He is the spokesperson and ano ba yun? Anyway, so spokesperson, Bureau of Jail Management and Penology. Okay, let's go to our week's blessing from Genesis chapter 28, verse 15. Behold, I am with you and will keep you wherever you go and will bring you again into this land. For I will not leave you until I have done that which I have spoken to you. That is the Lord's blessing that we pass on to all of you, our viewers. Have a good day. God bless all of you. Please pay attention to your mental and physical state para hindi po tayo magkaroon ng complications. Please keep it here on One News PH. God bless.